Oh, love hangouts. Right, we're
Yeah.
back. Okay.
Okay.
So you're in the bar. The elf's passed out. You stole half of his shot. There's these two enormous dudes playing dice that you can go and interact with, or you can sit in the corner and finish your drink.
Well, I think I will find a corner and finish my possibly first, possibly only beverage, and observe the large dice rollers and see what else might happen. Also,
Yeah,
kind of keep an eye on my cousin the elf over there. Make sure he doesn't fall completely in the floor.
yeah, yeah. He definitely looks like he's going that way. But the two dice rollers are they're not they're sort of being playfully banterous with each other. You get the sense they play the game quite a lot with each other, and they sort of the amount of money that they're sort of betting for is so low that neither one is overly upset when they lose. It's not really a sort of huge thing. They're just doing it to pass the time, it seems.
Right.
And so they'll win, and one of them might go, "Oh, damn," or but there's no sort of fight that breaks out or anything. And the evening kind of passes. The elf probably wakes up at some point and readjusts his position. And yeah, after a while, everyone's just sort of sitting there. Time goes by, and the doors open to the bar, and the doors are right opposite the bar itself. And in walks a man. He's wearing a kind of long coat, a hat. He's got an eye patch which kind of has these glowing blue lines on it, and he walks in. He's sort of wearing this kind of metallic armor. The bartender sort of lazily looks up from whatever he's reading, then looks back down. Then you see him sort of freeze and slowly look back. And then the bartender kind of squawks and ducks below the counter. The other two dice rollers kind of get up and spin around, not really sure what's happening, but just sensing kind of dissent. The bartender, Grufflin, comes back up from the bar with an enormous rifle. This thing is like maybe 6 feet long. It's got 4 barrels and 4 triggers, and is glowing blue with this pulsing energy. He levels it straight at the head of the man, resting the front of it on the bar and just pointing it directly at the patrons. The other two dice rollers, kind of confused, step back and kind of sit behind the table, sort of confused and sort of worried. You see one of them kind of go for a sort of dagger just in his belt, just kind of rest his hand on it. The bartender says to the man, not taking his eye from the sides, he says, "You're not welcome here, Beowulf. Get out before something happens." What would you like to do?
Not get involved. But that's not going to happen. So where am I seated in relation to the bar and the newcomer? I don't want to,
Yeah, so if we go by this picture being the bar, right. I imagine the door is sort of where this gentleman is standing. Hopefully you can see my mouse. The elf is kind of over on the right-hand side, and the dice rollers are over to the left. So I'd imagine you're sort of where this gentleman in the foreground is sitting.
So, all right. So I'm not necessarily in the line of fire. So good.
No.
I'm too young to die. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will. Well, I'm in the corner, but I am seated. So I will carefully stand up, not trying to draw much attention. Of course, the big meat stacks in the middle of the room, right, jumping up, take the attention off me. But I'm going to just get my. If I've got 2 laser pistols, I'm going to get one of them ready. Just kind of put my hand there, make sure that I'm not caught completely unawares, and kind of stand there for a moment and see what transpires.
Yeah, and as the barman kind of tells Beowyn that he's not welcome, Beowyn smiles, and you kind of look and you see that the lower right-hand side of his face and the most of his jaw is robotic and metal, and you see kind of quite a lot of him is actually probably metal implants. He's covered in scars and bruises, and there's a lot of sort of brown blood stains on his coat. He begins to sort of put his hands towards his hips, and you see these pistols sort of hanging at his belt, which are glowing green. And this kind of interests you because you've never seen pistols or any kind of laser weaponry that glows green.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty unusual and unheard of. And he says, Beowyn says, addressing the bar and the patrons, he says, including the dice rollers, he says, "I don't want any trouble from any of you. I just want him." And he points at the bartender. And the bartender just kind of immediately cuts him off. "Shut up, Cather." A history check if you want.
I do indeed. Just a moment. Oh yeah, that's one of my expertise. Oh yeah, I rolled a 15, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you've probably heard of the Cathars. They're not very mainstream, but you know that they're sort of these fairly. They're not religious, but they're kind of zealots, and they're perceived to be sort of insane, but they are trying to generally eradicate sort of monsters and kind of generally bad guys from the world, but they're sort of seen as being a little bit too extreme.
Right.
If you get my meaning.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't like them because they're never really accountable, and a lot of people get hurt around them. But yeah, you find it a little bit strange that a bartender would just know that off by heart or offhand. And Beowyn kind of lifts his head, looks at the man, and just gets this massive kind of grin on his face, and he says, "Ah, so you know who I am? Well, that only proves my point, scum." And kind of quick as a flash, just reaches for his waist and pulls out the 2 revolvers. They're pretty massive, and this is now like a full standoff between the two.
Well, okay, all right. I'll step forward, hands in front of me, and just say, "Gentlemen, hold up. Is there really any need for bloodshed?"
As soon as you make sort of any movement, one of the guns kind of points, or one of Beowyn's guns kind of points at you. But he doesn't look at you. He doesn't right gaze with the bartender, and he just says, "I don't have any quarrel with you. Just sit in your seat and don't move." And then the gun moves back away from you towards the bartender again.
Okay, at that point, I'll stop moving forward and I'll say, "Well, actually, it looks like you do have a quarrel with me, sir, because you're pointing weaponry at the bartender of this establishment, and I am on my first beer of the night. So if you kill him, I'm out of luck. That's my problem."
he does chuckle at that, sort of a slight kind of snort, and he says, "Fair enough. I just need 5 minutes." And then he kind of addresses the room again and takes one step towards the bar. Says, "You don't know who he is, do you? You don't know what he is."
He poured me a beer.
And Grufflin, the bartender, says, "You're lying." And Baywin says, "Well, it would be hard for me to lie when I haven't accused you of anything yet." And he kind of smiles, and the bartender, again, his face kind of descending more and more into fear. You can see him kind of shaking. "You're a scum-filled, disgusting abomination. You're a Kreth." And when he says that, the two patrons, the dice rollers, who were immediately hostile towards this gentleman, they become visibly afraid and start backing away from the bar and Baywin and just right into the corner. And you can make another history check if you want.
Okay.
See if you've heard of a Kreth.
12 plus. Oh, actually, yeah, that's one of my my proficiency bonus is doubled. So yeah, that's actually 20.
Oh, nice. Okay, so yeah, you would know that a Kreth is it's a word that describes a kind of monstrosity or beast that has stolen the skin of a person and has sort of worn it and used it to sort of integrate themselves into society. So he's essentially accusing the bartender of being a murdering monster who's parading as this ruddy-faced bartender. And Krets are the kind of thing where wherever they go, it's just blood and death everywhere around them.
So the sort of monster that a reclusive order of psychopaths ought to be killing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of describing the Cathars, a reclusive order of psychopaths. I think I'm going to write that down.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this. Yeah, what were you saying, sorry?
Oh no, I was just going to say, yeah, that figures that they're not nice, but they're occasionally right by virtue of well, yeah, we don't want those things around, but try not to kill anyone else in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Beowyn takes another step and says, "And you're not just a Kreth. You've gone into stage 4. And then the patrons, like these two enormous, we're talking like 7 to 8 feet tall, rippling muscles. These guys are huge. You wouldn't fight them if you were in a tank. They start shaking, and the Dragonborn kind of steps towards Beowyn and just says, "My apologies, sir. If I could just leave him my life." And Beowyn kind of nods and points at the door. And as they go, he says, "And if you're a stage 4, that makes me." And and kind of as soon as he says that, you see just this horrific look of realization pop onto the face of the bartender, and it's almost like they're speaking in code, because they haven't actually said what they are or who Baywin is he's just sort of implied lots, and everyone else seems to understand, and you're sort of standing there, slightly confused, but know something's bad is about to happen. And he Baywin turns to you and says, "I think you should leave."
Well, I probably should. You said just 5 minutes, right?
That's what I'm hoping.
All right, I'll step out front.
Yeah, and as you move to the door, I wasn't just gonna let you get away with that. As you step towards the door, you hear something that makes the back of your head or the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and you just freeze because Grufflin begins speaking, but he's not speaking in his voice. He's speaking in this suddenly deep, kind of demonic voice, and he says, "Well, Cather, I guess there is only one thing left to do." And he smiles, and as you kind of turn to look, Baywin's jaw just unhinges. And just like snaps to one side and then rolls down, and his face begins tearing, the skin just begins peeling. And he leaps into the air over the bar, discarding the gun, straight towards Baywin. His arms begin to elongate, his legs grow thick and stocky, and yeah, as I said, his jaw is just widening and cracking outwards. His face just like shreds off, and kind of bits of skin and muscle and everything just fall away, and this hideous, disproportioned face is revealed. Something like this. This kind of carapace covering part of him, huge claws and brutal looking skin and bits of fur. He's almost like a small troll, but a million times worse. And he leaps towards Baywin, just flashing claws and swinging. I'd like you to roll initiative, please.
All right. Wow. Ooh, a 2.
Oh, no. What a way to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Initiative's super easy this time. Yeah, and Grufflin rolled a natural 20 on his initiative, so
of course he did.
just well, and yeah, he just swings forward and immediately just grabs Baywin by the neck before Baywin can squeeze off around, and just throws him to one side. But as he does so, Baywin kind of uses the momentum to roll and stands back up and says something quippy, like, "Well, I guess it's a dance." And he just squeezes off 2 shots, one from each gun, and both kind of just strike Tinlor straight in the chest. Not Tinlor, Grufflin straight in the chest. Okay. Yeah, and his just you just hear this kind of high-pitched demonic scream. Kind of sounds like if you've ever heard a fox kind of barking, I guess it is. You know that horrible kind of baby crying noise that foxes make.
Indeed.
Kind of sounds like that. What would you like to do?
So it looks like Grufflin, aka hideous bipedal claw beast, he's injured but kind of mad. You didn't say he fell on the floor writhing. So I'm in the room. So I'm in this. Unfortunately, I'm going to draw my laser pistol. Now, I meant to ask you about this too. I have a pair of them, but I have no two-handed proficiency or anything of the sort. So, would it be worth it to try to use both? Okay.
So, well, yeah. If you don't have like a dual wielder feat or anything,
Yeah, not yet. No.
The way it works is you can use both, but you don't get your proficiency bonus on the attack roll for the second.
Gotcha. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you just get your I think it's agility bonus or dexterity bonus, sorry.
Right.
But no proficiency. So yeah, I mean it's an extra attack, so it's kind of
Yep.
You know,
all right. Well, I'll do that then. Then I got both of them, and barkeep or not, the fur bag's got to go down. So I'm going to shoot for his head. I'm going to try to hit him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use both of them. So let's see. The first one would be of 10 total. So that's probably a miss.
Yeah, a 10 is a miss.
Okay. And the second one, the offhand, well, that was a natural 16. So that would be with my dexterity. That'd be an 18 with my dexterity bonus.
Nice.
Okay. So, and 6 damage.
Nice. So yeah, you squeeze off this shot, and or these shots, and the first one kind of sails past him, and he sort of slightly moves his head, but he moves his head directly into the path of the other one, and Excellent. It just kind of smashes him straight in that sort of bony exoskeleton part just outside his head, and it just roars and kind of beats and scratches at its chest like a mad gorilla.
That made it angry.
And yeah, it's I'm just gonna roll here. Yeah, he comes bounding at you,
of course, and
just slashes at your chest with his massive claws. But as he does, you kind of step to one side, and he just crushes a table that was behind you, just with one blow, and you kind of narrowly miss. Beowyn kind of begins sort of shouting at it to try and kind of get its attention away from you. But again, just squeezes off 2 more shots, rolling and ducking behind an upturned table. One of them misses and actually comes quite close to your head. But the other one just kind of slashes and instantly cauterizes a gaping wound in its thigh. You can just see a hole kind of straight through, and it falls to one knee and sort of swings its arm as if something was right behind it, and it was trying to hit it. You get the impression that it might be blind and not actually going on what it can see. And it's just sort of flailing at this point. It is your turn again.
Okay. I'm going to. So from where I am, I'm still in the general area. I didn't come out of the general area of the corner where I was. Of course, well, actually, I was closer to the door. That's true. So I am. Okay, I'm going to try to move along the wall toward the corner where the Dragonborn was. And I'm trying to draw his line of sight back around toward Beowyn too, because obviously he's not paying attention. Well, you said, oh, that's right. You said I got the impression that he's not. His line of senses, whatever, because he obviously came at me when I. So once I get over to where the Dragonborn was, I'm trying to think. Once I'm over there, then I'm gonna attack him again with both pistols. If I got time to do all that this round, cool. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you
All
can
right.
kind of get around, so you're in the same kind of general direction as
Okay.
Balin, so that you can kind of, you know, not be too separate.
Okay. The first one was
Yeah,
uh, first one was a 22.
22 hits.
And the second one was a 20.
Oh,
Yay.
nice.
Yeah, that offhanded thing is great.
Yeah. Yep. Damage for those then.
Okay. Would be 4 and a 5.
Nice. And yeah, this thing is kind of bleeding in some bits, but most of its wounds are lasers and just cauterized immediately.
Right.
And it's kind of smoking. And it just does this bound and just lunges and dives straight on top of Baywin, just kind of kneeling on his chest as Baywin was kind of crouching down, and it just tackles him and just starts ripping its claws into his chest. He's wearing pretty heavy armor, but it's starting to get through, and you see blood kind of spurting out, and Baywin just kind of spits this massive globule of blood straight into its mouth, and it kind of rears back, kind of screams and licks its lips, and then just goes in for a jugular bite. But as it does so, Baywin is waiting with a pistol, and just it's that kind of classic thing where it kind of leans over, and you see the blaster bolt kind of go off, and you see a flash of green light, and then it's just stillness, and you're not sure, what's happened. And as you kind of look over, you can see through the back of its head, out of its mouth, is just a gaping hole, slightly smoking, and you hear this groan as Baywin pushes it off to one side, and just kind of lies there, just staring at the ceiling, and just says, "I hate my job," and kind of holds out a hand for you to help him up.
Well, I guess I holster the laser bangers that I've got and give him a hand and say, "Well, there goes the bartender."
Well, the way I see it, free bar, and he kind of like vaults the bar and just grabs a bottle of just whatever kind of sipping liquor is there, and
Gotcha.
throws it to you. Just helps himself, and he takes kind of a massive swig, and then sort of stops and sighs, turns around and says, "Look, I gotta thank you. You well, you saved my ass back there, and I owe you one, I guess."
I guess I don't know exactly what that was or what happened. I don't know. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll uncork the bottle, and I'll take a swig.
Yeah, he kind of smiles to himself and nods and says, "I've been tracking old Grufflin here for months now. So yeah, as you heard, I'm a Cather. Hunt down monsters like this," and he spits another globule of blood just on its corpse. But he says, "Me, I'm a Strider though. We're more veteran, select Cathers. We're only brought in to deal with the worst of the fucking worst." Yeah, the stage 4 is like this guy here, and he just boots the head of this hideous creature. It doesn't go anywhere because the thing has neck muscles like mad, but just this sickening crunch. We can attribute over 400 murders to Grufflin here
Wow.
through this quadrant, just a straight line, and I've been following him the whole way. He just stayed here one day too long. And he says, I only get sent in when fucking animal like this is critically dangerous. 400 is dangerous. And he kind of chuckles and then shakes his head and has another swig, just at how kind of awful that is. People don't like us because, well, when there's guys this bad, it doesn't matter what it takes to bring them down, because if he is left to continue, there'll be more corpses than if I have to kill a whole city just to get to him. So lots of innocent deaths on my hands. And you kind of get the sense that he doesn't really know why he's suddenly talking and sort of spilling all his, deep, dark secrets or whatever to you. It's kind of that sort of just like, I don't really know what's happening, but you're going to be here and share it with me, whatever it is.
I'm just going to take another slow swig out of the bottle and kind of nod and just enjoy my free drink as the monster corpse congeals and smokes a little bit.
And he says, well, we better get out of here. Lots of questions come with this job, and I tend to want to avoid being around them. I could probably arrange for you to get paid, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty close to the boss, but I think we have a job that you might be able to help us with. I can't just tell you because I don't know, I'm not supposed to. But if you want to come, I'll give you a ride, and I don't know, you could do pretty well for yourself. Get out of this. And he kind of looks around the bar. What do you say?
Well, looks like this bar just suddenly got really boring to hang out in anyway. So it's not a trick, right? I mean,
no. I mean,
Mr.
We
metal halfway.
We do tend to do this.
Okay.
I've already, we've had some weird singing guy helping us, and there's a couple other people in your boat, and well,
right.
It's not that unusual. And he holds out a hand, which, as you can see, this hand and probably the whole arm is robotic. And he holds out a hand and says, "My name's Beowin. Nice to meet you."
I'll look at his hand, and I'll look at what remains of Grufflin on the floor, and I'll look back at him and smile big and say, "Tinlor, you're in a hickam," and shake his hand and say, "Let's go make some money."
And he says, "Bless you," and leaps back over the bar and just grabs a few more bottles, like kind of one in between each finger. Just says, "Yeah, for the ride." And we'll lead you to his ship. And probably didn't need to, but I enjoy finding the pictures of the ship. So that's what his ship looks like.
Excellent.
Sort of the car Porsche of the the spaceship world. And it's kind of having the repairs and everything done just by the sort of engineers around, and he sort of waves them off and transfers them some money, and then kind of you get in, and the trip over Takes about 2 days, and you've got the coordinates are already in, and he just sort of leads you on, and it just sort of leads you on. So you guys, he just sleeps the whole time and drinks. You're kind of sitting there, probably, I imagine, probably just doing the same thing. It's pretty relaxing, and yeah, you'll be back at full hit points if you took any damage.
Okay.
And yeah, he tells you that the Cathars are based in a space station called the Vateran, and it's sort of a bit far out from Loira, as I said, a couple of days, and it's pretty large, with lots of sort of buzzing activity around it. It's this ring with a large tower, kind of at one area. You can just sort of see the start of it on that picture there. And you dock kind of maybe about halfway up the tower. His ship pulls in. You can tell that it's sort of, like the reserved car parking spot. It's a pretty good spot. And he takes you up all the way to the top, and he says, recently we've had a little bit of, shall we say, irreputable and a little bit treacherous company. So we have to take all people we're contracting to do work for us up to meet the Supreme General. Word of advice: don't stare, don't speak unless you're spoken to, and try and keep it short and simple because she gets bored quickly. And kind of claps you on the back. And he leads you, you take the elevator all the way up, and then it's down the corridor. And you get to her office, and he kind of deep breath. More of, not like a one to sort of steady himself, but more of like a here we go type thing, and just knocks and opens the door. Inside, this is a pretty well furnished, nice office, and you see the Supreme General. You're pretty sure when you first see her, the first thing that pops into your head is, oh, that's a kobold. And then you sort of stare for a second, you're like, and you realize, actually, no, that's not a kobold. That's just a stunted dragonborn. It hasn't got any fur like the kobolds in this setting, and it's looks a little bit more intelligent, and it kind of disproportionate. So you can see that it's definitely not a kobold, and you're pretty sure it looks just like your standard dragonborn, just kind of smaller. Baywin kind of comes in and clears his throat, and she's standing facing a side wall, and she's looking up at a firearm on the wall, about the size of you, I would imagine, about 6 feet long, and it's pretty much a futuristic broadside cannon, mounted on wheels, and it says on a plaque under it, Supreme General Raya. You get the sense that this was her weapon of choice, and it's pretty fucking gnarly. And she turns around and kind of climbs up the slight step ladder to a chair by the desk and sits in it and says, "The stage 4." And Baywin says, "Dead, no casualties. Well, one casualty, but it was him, so it doesn't count." And you get the sense, like, he's been, this very kind of cool, calm, collected, and he's sort of a little bit awed and tongue-tied in her presence. And she says, "Right, and this is And Baron says, "This is Tinlor. This is Tinlor, and and he well, I thought he could help us with the Fei Li issue, considering how short-staffed we are at the moment." And he sort of, you can tell though by the way he says that, it's sort of laced with sort of heavy meaning and that kind of thing. And she says, "I see," and kind of nods. Right, well, yes, you're right, he could help. Okay, let me just think. And she sort of goes through her drawers for a second and says, okay. So, Mr. Tinlor, whatever your name was, I will pay you ridiculously well to sort out this this issue for us. Do you accept?
Well, what issue would that be?
Oh, right, yeah, I forgot to say that. So, and she kind of goes into explain. There was our top informant, the our main man. His name is Fei Li, and he could sniff out a shit in a sewer. He's a damn fine informant. We last saw him on Loira in the Salt Sea, but well, we haven't heard from him in a while, and we received a distress call from his ship that I think he might have been caught by some unsavory characters, not unlike old Grufflin, who you met earlier. I don't have any Cathars to spare. In fact, and she kind of stops herself and says, Baywin, there's a stage 4 in Grevda that I need you to go to. So, yeah, you're just going to, yes, I know you just got back. You're going to have to go. And he sort of, you can tell that he's like, Baywin maybe goes out once every month or every other month, and having two this kind of close together is sort of unheard of. Baywin's job is, only happens every so often, but is very high intensity when it does. And so it's kind of wearing on him. And he says, yes, right away, Supreme General, and leaves the room. And she says, okay, so I can't spare any Cathars, but I have a ship for you. It's just an old trade ship that we have, but it's programmed with the coordinates of his distress call. So it will take you there. I plan to have others go with you, but other things have come up. But I really need this done. So I have no one to spare but this ship. It's down in the hangar, and if you help us out here, I just need information. I just need to know where he is. You don't have to fight anyone or anything, but if you do this for me, the ship's yours. You can keep it.
Well,
although, saying that, I may have promised the ship to 2 or 3 other people, but I'm sure you can share it. The point is, you'll be handsomely rewarded. Are you in? And she's like trying to think, she gets the impression she's like, I've missed something out, but I can't think what it is. She's frantic at the moment, kind of really busy.
Well, get some information, free ship, find out where a guy is,
Free ship,
and I've got transportation. Now, of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, of course, I'm going to do this. I so need this. But I'm trying to think of how I can spin it to my advantage further, because if they're willing to do that, they really want to know where he is. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
she also says, "Oh, that was it. That was it. The ship will also, upon completion, be registered into the triumvirate trading treaty of whatever year it was, um, which gives you the right to perform um, subcontracted freight and shipping, delivery, and whatever. Look, you'll be able to actually use and work with the ship legally. Everything will be taken
uh,
care of. You won't even need to like. It's all above board, and it's yours.
um, so am I going alone, or do I have any help on this? What am I? Is this? What's the?
Well, I
I don't
can't
care. I just need to know.
spare anyone, so you will be on your own. But I don't need you. I do not need you to fight. Once we know where he is, um, you can. I'll send in some Cathars when they're free, and they can take him out or bring him
Um,
back.
okay, that's all well and good. Uh, but I gotta say, I was at a watering hole enjoying my first ale of the afternoon, and this guy shows up, and the next thing you know, I'm taking shots at some giant, huge clawed meat bag swinging around trying to kill me. So I know you keep telling me I'm not going to have to fight, but so far you're, yeah. So do you have any sort of, I mean, my laser pistols are fine, but do you have any sort of, weaponry that might assist me just in case I get into a scrape? I know I'm not supposed to, but I look at Bale and I'm kind of like, seems to happen when people are out on missions for you folks.
And she kind of has a sort of curt smile at that and says, "Yes, I suppose that's true." You head down to the armorer, and you can yeah, sure, just ask them to outfit you. Um, Tell them that I sent you, and you can have something. Um, there's also the matter of the other people who have promised your ship. Um,
Uh,
I guess on completion of this, well, you'll be crew. But hey,
wait, what? So wait, so it's not my ship? I
it's a
thought it was my
quarter,
ship.
your ship.
So why? I thought there wasn't anybody
But
helping me on this.
well, they are doing other. Oh, and she's like frantic. She's like, "Damn it! Why did I mention that? He was about to do it." Um, so she says, "Look, they're doing similar work to you. They don't work for us. They're just helping out. They're not here, but when they return, they get a quarter of the ship. But look, you need a crew for this ship. It's a good ship, but it can't just be flown, or it can just be flown. But it, you know, having three other people with you will make you much more of a deterrent, and will help you. You know, you're not going to get in trouble with pirates. You're not going to get in problems with other people. They'll help you run the shit. Look, you need these other crew. Plus,
Look,
I already promised it to them, so you can either take it or just go home.
excuse me. I get it, Dragonborn lady admiral. I understand what you're saying, but also understand that you just tried to trick me into thinking a ship was mine when it wasn't. So anyway, I'm still interested in this offer, but how do I know? I don't know I mean, maybe I've got a crew. maybe I don't. Maybe I'm a sleepwalker and I don't want to trip over them while they're passed out on the. All right, look at Bailyn again.
And she says, okay, how about this? We'll transfer you 500 gold or 500 units, and you can meet the crew before accepting before accepting the ship afterwards. So once you've done the mission, you can meet the crew, and if you're not happy and you don't want it, we'll pay you another 500 gold, maybe 1,000 gold, and then we'll give you transport back to Loira. So that way, even if you don't take the ship, you're still getting paid. That's fair.
Okay, well, that's now. See, I think we're on the right path. So I think the 500 credits, wonderful good faith effort on your part, and I thank you for that. And I'll be looking for that transfer here shortly. And I do appreciate what you're saying. Maybe I'll get along with the crew. And so if I don't get along with the crew, I think then a 1,500 credit transfer would put me at 2,000 total for this little hide and go seek mission. And then I'd be well on my way to buying my own ship if I decide not to start entering the trader business with these 3 random mucks that you're trying to foist on me. So how's that sound?
And she kind of thinks for about 2 seconds, then says, deal, and shakes it and holds out a hand to shake.
All right, I'll shake her hand, look at Bailyn again, kind of shake my head, look back at her, and it's all right. Let's get to the armory then.
She presses a button on her desk and just screams down this kind of small microphone that she has, that you're to be transferred 500 units before you leave this office, otherwise. And then she just spouts a few hundred threats, down at whichever floor accountant or whatever is at the other end of that call. And so you can head off to the armory, and you can have anything from the technology document. I'll send you that again if you don't have it.
I have it somewhere, but yes, a link would be good.
Here you go.
There we are. So I have all laser weapons. I have proficiency with them, but does that include a striker? Oh no! Wait! No.
The striker is the knuckle dusters.
Right. You know what? I think. I think that's not for me. I don't know what I was thinking. I need.
I pretty much wrote that item thinking about Torgrim.
That does seem perfect for him.
And then as soon as I described it to Wayne, he was like, "Yeah, this one."
He pounced on it.
Yeah. I need to add to this this document at some point.
I think I'm going to pick up bolt rifle because it is a laser weapon. That means I can use it.
Is pretty much your massive sniper rifle.
So maybe a laser rifle and
no,
like the Barrett.
Yeah,
like a 50 caliber.
Yeah, and that's gonna liquefy someone's head. But yeah, you're welcome to take that. They do have one, and if you do take that, they obviously the armor obviously got a similar message to the accountant, laden with threats, and he will hand it over to you as if he was giving away one of his children.
I'm so tempted, but it's the laser rifle's more practical. I'm not going to use that range. If I'm
Yeah,
using that sort of range, I'm in the ship. So yeah, I'm
yeah,
using the
pretty,
ship's
pretty
weaponry.
much.
Yeah,
And then the bolt sweeper is like a shotgun
yeah. I
as
was
well.
tempted. I was tempted on that too. Um,
Yeah, I will be adding to this list over the next couple of days. So, next session you can go back and retcon what you took uh, for that. If there's something that suits your fancy a little bit more.
I think I'll go with the laser rifle.
Okay.
That's a little more. That's a little more practical, a little more manageable, and still ups my damage for for a range that I might use.
Yeah.
You know.
All right.
Um, yeah, let's do that. There we go.
Yeah, and so Beowyn shakes your hand and heads off, and once leaving you, and you get your first sight of the Redmoth, which is the ship that they've got to take you on your journey. And yeah, you're the first of the Redmoth crew to actually enter into the Redmoth. So
Oh,
congrats. Um,
excellent.
and
Achievement unlocked.
yeah, you open the door, and the first thing you see is kind of a small sort of duffel bag, and inside is half of the booze that Beowyn took but hasn't drunk from the
Aw,
bar.
that's sweet of him.
So he's kind of left you a little gift there, say thank you. And yeah, it will just carry you in its steady kind of hum on your way to Loira, and it's in a pretty good condition, but it's a little bit messy and kind of dusty. So you know, I'm not sure about Tinlor, but being an engineer, he probably wants to put everything in order. So he's maybe sort of cleaning up and working on it a bit on his way over. Um, but yeah, um, and it lands in the sea,
Nice.
which is essentially these like massive salt pans that used to be an ocean and it's now just dried up, and it's almost like a desert, but occasionally you'll just like step and suddenly your foot will just go into this kind of salty acidic mud. It's pretty horrible.
Oh,
And yeah, it's just kind of cracking and oozing underneath your feet. You take the ship's transmitter, which is kind of like an iPad that kind of gives you. It's sort of like a remote heads-up display of the ship, so you can sort of take it with you, and it kind of gives you the coordinates of what you're looking for, and it's sort of you think something may have happened because when you land and you sort of step outside, you can't see the ship anywhere, even though the last signal that you got from the ship was here. So potentially the ships maybe continued flying, for a bit after the signal went down, or um, who knows? Um, and as you sort of march, kind of, I guess, following the signal, which does lead ahead of you. You're kind of looking around. I'll just take a quick survival check for you just to see how your journey on foot goes, because the ship refuses to go anywhere without further authentication.
oh. Well, that's clever of them. Well, that's what I get for signing up with a religious cult.
Yeah.
Well, that's fortunate. I got a 19.
Yeah. And as you're walking, you see kind of coming on the horizon after maybe an hour or so of walking, you see a smoke sort of rising, a pillar of smoke sort of rising in the horizon. As you get closer, you can see a crashed ship kind kind of in a pile of rocks. It's got this column of smoke, and it does seem sort of mostly intact. But I mean, you being a see immediately that it's got this massive kind of hole in the side from some kind of anti-air missile or ballistic round or something. And you can see that the Redux core engine is misaligned, so that none of the energy is going anywhere. It's just sort of being created and sort of burning off into the sky. And other than that, it's just pretty kind of messed up from the crash. I will have another survival check from you, though.
Okay.
Because you're pretty sure that there's lots of footprints around.
Well, that was trickier. That was a 13.
Yeah, you see, you can't make out how many sets of footprints, but as you kind of wander around the ship, you definitely see a kind of drag mark leading away, which is so obvious because it just keeps going and going and going, kind of onto the horizon. As if, well, I'm sure you can work it out.
You say it's very obvious.
Yeah, it's like 2 feet have been dragged through it, and the kind of salt pans hold footprints really well.
Right, it's crusty.
Yeah.
So, well, I think I should check out the ship because who knows? It could just
definitely.
it could be a trick. It could be a trap. So I'm going to I'll pull out my I'll take out my laser pistols at this point, so I'm prepared, and I will look for the most obvious, easily accessed entry to the ship. Not necessarily a hatch or a door. If it's just where it's cracked open and I can get in and out of it, that's.
So, I mean, just like on the picture, you see it's kind of cracked in half in the middle.
Right.
You can just kind of walk through that bit and up into the ship. And it's pretty small,
Okay.
like the sleeping quarters, living kind of area with, place for making food and that kind of thing. It's smaller than the Redmoth. And then, there's the cockpit. It's pretty messy. And there's lots of kind of portraits of, really ugly looking men kind of pinned up everywhere. This guy's, you get the impression that they're probably people he was informing on rather than decoration.
Right.
And so as I say, it's got this massive kind of wound in its side, and all of the kind of computer functions and everything are switched off because of the core. Now you think that probably with some kind of engineering check, you could probably realign the core and get at least some of the sort of electrical capabilities of the ship back. If you wanted to try that,
I do indeed. Let's see here. Well, that was a 16, so that doesn't include any bonuses or anything. So,
well, if I ever ask you to do an engineering check, you get your intelligence, because it's obviously 5e. You get your intelligence and your proficiency because you're an engineer.
So it's 21.
Yeah. Okay. So you can definitely sort of tinker, and it's pretty much like magnets. Sort of, they kind of oppose each other, but when you align them just right, they snap together, and you hear the kind of whole thing sort of whir to life. And a lot of the cables have been damaged and everything because the ship's almost in half, but you do get sort of one side and have the computer functions working, and you get kind of the last sort of coordinates, and you see it begins transmitting its position again and that sort of thing. So it's up and running, and you can sort of download the kind of last status report, and it just says that the ship was flying along when suddenly external force caused the engine to basically shut off in midair and a load of damage, and then it just crash landed. So you're pretty 100% certain that it was shut off. Is there anything else you'd like to do or try looking around the ship?
I mean, technically, my job is done. My work is done here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but being young and dumb and ambitious and everything, well, young as far as half-elves go, and can I tell anything from the ship's log? I mean, did he? Well, does it look like he was here after the crash for long? Can I tell if he was like,
Yeah. So the way the ship's log works is not like, Star Trek captain's log, where the ship is constantly updating itself. And so you can get a printout from it that says, it gives you details about the ship. And then it gives vital details about the person sitting in the captain's seat and, all the life forms on board. And so it does say that there's detected heartbeat. And like because it says, all the details about the crash. And then after that, it does say detected heartbeat, concussion detected, and potential cranial contusion. But he's alive, essentially. So he didn't die in the crash, although he may have died just afterwards because the computer pretty much turned off afterwards. So you're not really sure. But, I mean, he was dragged away, so probably would have just been left if he was dead.
I'm not feeling terribly invested in going on a manhunt across the salt marsh here, or across the salt sea. I don't. The lake bed is crunchy, and I got a ship to collect. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but she did cough up the promise of 2,000 credits pretty easy. So if I bring him back, maybe I just get to keep the ship all to myself. Maybe they give me the ship. Maybe they give me the ship and the 2,000 credits. Yeah. I don't know.
You could be in cash.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to step outside the ship. After a quick check, I'm fully outfitted. I know I don't really need anything, but if there's anything that looks like it might be beneficial, it doesn't look like there's any evidence, as to what took him. Obviously, that would have probably been apparent. But once I check that, I'm going to get outside the wreckage and swap out my pistols for the laser rifle, since I'm trekking across country a little bit. The additional range would be handy here. And I guess follow the obvious tracks.
Yeah. You can make an investigation check if you want to search the ship for useful stuff.
I do indeed. Look at that with a proficiency. Oh, yes, we'll take a 19 on that.
Yeah, nice. So, a lot of the ship has been looted, but see that there's sort of a number of kind of redux cores and spare kind of energy coils lying around, which, as an engineer, you're like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Anything uses these, and, you could run your ship on these. So you definitely see those and take them. And actually, the fact that they're still there, because they're quite highly prized, probably means that the people who took him aren't very tech savvy or intelligent.
Gotcha. So that was the spare Redux cores. How many of them were there?
Um, six of
Okay.
those, and you've got four coils, which are kind of like they're kind of like enhancers, and sort of use them with the core to make the ship faster or whatever.
Right.
I'll send you I'll update the document and let you know and show you everything.
Excellent.
Yeah. So what would you like to do then?
In that case, if that's what I'll collect those. And now, assuming they're not too bulky for me to take with me, if they are, I can go back to the Redmoth and drop them off, or stash them here and pick them up on my way back. But I prefer to have them on my person so that somebody else doesn't come along and snag them, because hey, stuff. So
no, each one's about I'm trying to each one's probably you can hold one in your hand.
Right, that's what I was visioning. So okay,
like the size of a can of Coke, sort of thing.
Right. Well, they're going in the pack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, and now we'll ready the rifle, step outside, and follow some tracks. About what time is it? What time of day locally, and and relative to the day cycle here too.
Yeah. So it was evening when you left Loira, and it took you about 2 days to get there. So you probably got there like the morning of the third day.
Okay.
So then now it's probably probably about afternoon, or like very early afternoon. So yeah,
still early enough to follow the tracks. If nothing else, I'll come back to this wreckage, on my way back. Yeah, if I have to. So I'm probably 3 or 4 hours from the Redmoth at this point. Or not that far.
About 1 or 2. Yeah, not too bad.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So if I have to, I can camp out here. If not, I can maybe sprint back. So, all right, let's follow. We got time to follow some tracks before daylight gives on us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the tracks go on for about another half hour, and every so often there's a bit of a shuffling, as though they're kind of swapping out who's dragging the person, and you eventually get to or you kind of see this. It's kind of like a rock formation, kind of rising out of the salt pan. It's got a couple of plants on top of it and a very, very small waterfall. Kind of looks quite picturesque. And the tracks are clearly leading towards that formation.
All right. Well, I need to try to find that too. I was thinking I may have had some old school binoculars, but I don't. I have an old school antique compass and a wind up watch. So that's something that Tinlor's got to keep his eye out for. I know there's super duper digital enhanced spyglass stuff, in the Triumvirate, but Tinlor's really he's got this thing for it dovetails with his engineering. He's got this thing for old gadgetry.
That's
so
awesome.
if he can find some old a good pair of old junky but serviceable Bushnells or something, he's going to take them. But
yeah, I'll keep that in mind, because I really like that character aspect. So keep that in mind.
He will at this point he will try to get low to the ground, see what he can, and just kind of, if he's he wants to be within range with his rifle, but he's also trying to see. but before he stumbles into the place, he wants to sit back and see if there's anybody coming and going, and what may have dragged off our hapless would-be hero.
Yeah, and you can sort of see this kind of tents at the top of the formation, and this kind of ladder cut out into it. So you can tell this is some kind of camp. It looks semi-permanent, but yeah, a little bit sort of ramshackle.
Gotcha. Does it look like there's a ladder cut in the front? There's a ladder cut in to get up to the camp area at the top of the formation, right?
And the drag marks lead right to that ladder.
Okay. Just at first glance, does it look like there's any way to trek around behind and maybe work your way up, or not? Is like if maybe the ladder cut in is the easiest way, but not the only way.
Yeah, there's one of the kind of trees in the rock formation has its roots and vines kind of hanging down, which are definitely climbable.
Okay.
It wouldn't be as easy as the ladder, but definitely doable.
Okay. Well,
and it would give you some kind of cover.
Okay, I think. Let's see. About how long do I think it'll be before evening starts to fall and it maybe starts to get dark? Maybe there's a little more shadow to give me some help hiding.
It's starting to get into kind of late afternoon.
Okay.
To the point where, like, it is like a conceivable possibility for you to wait it out. Until it gets a bit darker if you wanted to.
I think I'm going to have a snoot from the bottle of the space elixir that Balin handed me, not from the duffel bag. That's still on the Redmoth. Gave me was on my personal space, so that's
nice.
I've got that. So I'll have a snoot from that, kind of watch, make sure my rifle is in order, check everything out, and keep an eye on the camp at the top, and then the ladder down below to see if anybody shows up. Kind of wait for evening to get here.
Yeah,
that seems like the best bet.
It does. Although strangely, you don't hear or see any noise coming from on top of the formation whatsoever for the whole time. And it gets to evening. The sun's kind of almost gone. Sort of red glow in the sky. What would you like to do?
Well, once it's dark enough that now, do I see any evidence of a fire or anything up top?
When you first got here, there was the smoking kind of embers of a dying fire, but that has long since gone out. And
okay,
there is no one there.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the. They may have already abandoned camp and started dragging elsewhere. I don't know, but this seems like the place. So I'm going to take the alternative tree route and try to climb up to the top and see what I can see. Sling the rifle, of course, while climbing.
So there's two tents when you get to the top, and a kind of fire in between them with some kind of logs set up, or one log and two rocks set up as kind of makeshift chairs. There seems to be old skins of like rats and coyote type things where probably been some meals in the past, but no movement or signs of recent activity. By recent I mean no one's been up and made a new fire in the last day or so.
Gotcha. Okay. And no movement at all that I can see.
Nothing.
And can't hear anything either.
Nope.
All right. Well, I'm going to walk up slowly and stealthily and check out the camp and see if I can see any tracks leading out of the camp.
So you open the first tent, and inside is just a bedroll and nothing else. It's fairly mundane. But in the second one, there is a hole leading down into the rock formation, and it's sort of another cut ladder leading straight down into the earth.
Well, okay. Well, do I see any light below?
No.
Okay. Well, dark vision to 60 feet, so I guess it's time to make use of it. I'm not looking to be on this salt rock for too long, but hey, the idea of getting the free ship and the 2,000 credits is pretty appealing to young Tinlor.
It's motivation.
So, exactly. Yeah. Dollar bill.
Yeah.
Such
so you can
is.
head down, and when you get to the bottom, you see you're in just this kind of winding corridor. And when you get to the bottom, you can sort of start to see some light at the end of the corridor,
Okay.
sort of a dull red glow.
Okay.
And you can kind of sneak up. I'll take a stealth check from you.
Okay. I am shouldering my rifle in exchange for the laser pistols at this point too.
Yeah.
So, and a stealth check. 10, but I am not proficient in it, so.
Okay. So you can kind of, you're not the sneakiest, but, you'll do. And you can kind of peer out, and you see 3 figures kind of at the other end of the cave. Oh, I need to... you see 2 of them. One's a dwarf and one's an orc. And they're standing, next to a guy who is chained by his 2 arms and suspended kind of from opposite corners of the ceiling, sort of Viking burial type situation. And the guy who's suspended is a halfling, and the orc is just wearing striker electric knuckle dusters, and it's just punching him in the stomach while the dwarf just shouts questions at him. So they're kind of a bit preoccupied and don't notice you.
Oh man!
And
I could take my rifle, and because I mean, look, I've never met. I'm not saying they're not out there, but I've never met an evil halfling. Not once. I mean, they might be out there. I'm not saying they're not. But they're chaotic at best,
Yeah.
But so what's my distance to these 2 guys?
So you're probably about 60 feet away.
Probably about 60 feet.
And yeah, as you're sitting there, you hear a noise which is sort of like a phone ringing, and it's coming from the dashboard transmitter from the Redmoth, and it says incoming short range transmission, with a big kind of accept and decline button, and it starts making a kind of audible ringing noise.
Is there any way to shut it off without accepting it?
Yeah, decline. You can decline it.
But I need to know what it is. But I just decline it right now. It's gonna get me busted.
So you decline it, and the 2 gentlemen don't seem to have noticed.
About the skin of my half-elf teeth. Okay. So they're actually within range, within comfortable range of my pistols, because I was going to swap out for the rifle. I'm itching to use the long arm, is what it is, but I can't. I can't justify it. I do feel with the Salt Lake bed trekking and everything, and the manhunt, I really should have like a 3/4 length leather duster on, which I probably don't, but that's okay. Why don't Because there's two of them, and they're wailing on this halfling. I mean, I'm guessing that's my guy.
Yeah, Faley, you do know that he is a halfling, and
Yeah.
he's just kind of sobbing, and but there's no more tears left in him, so he's just kind of dry heaving.
Well, you know, what's the? Can I tell what the dwarf has for armament?
Well, both the dwarf and the orc are topless, just kind of wearing kilts.
Oh yeah, I'm totally putting the pistols up and getting the rifle out. This is too good. I'm gonna channel my inner Josie Wales here.
Yeah.
This is great. So all right, so I'll swap out the pistols for the rifle, and their backs are to me. I'm behind them. The halfling is the way I'm picturing from what you described. He's not necessarily facing me, but they're looking away from me toward him.
Yeah, so he is sort of facing your general direction, and so they're facing pretty much directly opposite you. Yeah.
Well, I'm not. He's sitting there sobbing and everything. I'm not counting on him to do anything. So I'm going to slowly come out from where I am and close that. You said it was about 30 yards. Wait, was that what you said?
60 feet.
About 60 feet. Okay, yeah, okay. So about 20 yards from him. So why don't I do that? I really don't have to do much other than just stand up with the rifle. Golly gosh, gee. Gotta love long arms. Yeah, because the range on that's 100 and 400. So yeah, that's totally. So yeah, I'm going to stand up, draw a bead on the only one that I can tell the strikers, right?
Yeah.
So he's the thread. Of course, the dwarf, they could have something else handy, but has the strikers in and or on hand. So I'm actually going to draw a bead on the dwarf. He's yelling the instructions and the questions and stuff. So
yeah,
I'm going to stand up, draw a bead on the dwarf, and say, just kind of in a raised voice, "Excuse me, gentlemen, but think I need to take your party pal there and go." And point right at the dwarf's head with the rifle.
The dwarf wheels around, and the orc kind of slowly follows, and the dwarf looks kind of visibly afraid. That it doesn't really register on the orc's face. You get the impression he's just enjoying punching the guy.
Right.
But the dwarf looks a little bit frantic, and he says, "You, Cather."
Nope. That's supposed to say, "Nope, wrong." But I am going to take that halfling.
And the dwarf says, "Oh yeah," and kind of nods to the orc. But at that, your kind of transmitter starts vibrating and ringing again.
All right, I'll slap decline, and then I'm going to let loose with one shot from the rifle that goes between and the orc, but closer to the dwarf.
Okay, sure. I'll say you can just do that, and they both kind of recoil, and sort of step to one side, and the dwarf kind of gives you a sideways look and says, "Oh, you really didn't want to do that," and they both start walking towards you.
Okay. Well, in that case, because I'm, hey, chaotic neutral. I'm just going to shoot the orc right in the chest. Yeah.
Go for it.
Done. That would be 19. No, 19.
19 hits.
And yay! 9 damage.
Nice. You see a great sucking chest wound appear in the
the best kind of chest wound.
The chest of the orc. However, you see that it's left this mark of like kind of this grayish brown skin under his skin, and
Oh man.
you see his shoulders kind of begin to roll and rotate, and
No.
his jaw come unhinged as he's walking towards you.
Nice.
And the dwarf is doing similar, but you can see you've pretty much shot off part of his human skin as these two Kreth begin changing up and turning into their true forms in front of you.
All right. Well, we're going to keep the rifle for the time being. I'm going to, every chance I get to take a shot at them, I'm going to blast them as they close range to me.
Yeah. And at that, we'll roll initiative.
Let's see. That would be 14.
Yeah. And as they're advancing towards you, they begin to sort of chuckle, and the dwarf does, and the orc just kind of drops the two knuckle dusters as you see the ends of his fingers just kind of get slit open by the claws that are appearing from within, and they kind of begin jogging towards you. But they are too far away, and you can take another shot before they can get to you.
I'm definitely doing that. This one, I'm going to go ahead and plug the orc again, since I got to try to put one of them on the ground. I can't have them, both of them swiping at me. 12 plus 18.
Yeah, 18 hits.
I'm loving these attack bonuses. I'm really enjoying 5e for that reason. If nothing else, there's a lot other to enjoy too, but that's pretty good. Where did you go? There you are. 7.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and the orc it hits him again, and he's now not an orc anymore. He's one of the Kreth that you saw earlier, and he sort of stops and gets blown to one side, but sort of keeps coming at you, slower, but still coming at you. And they get pretty up close.
Yeah.
But as they do, you see 2 green bolts of energy just catch from behind you and slightly above, catch the dwarven one in the chest, and he just screeches and stumbles back slightly as you whirl round to see Beowyn following you, and he shouts, "I've been calling you," and then fires off another 2.
I yell back at him, "I've been busy."
It's your turn, Tinlor.
Excellent. I'm going to shoot the orc again.
Nice.
Oh, 2. I don't even add bonuses to it. It's a 2. It'd be an 8. Never mind.
Yeah, so this time the orc just sees it coming and just kind of dives to one side.
Yeah.
And it misses him. And he gets up to you and will just pretty much just punch you straight in the face for a 13 to hit, which I think misses you.
My AC is 13.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a hit then, I'm afraid. Which, okay, it's not too bad then. Yep. Brilliant. 5 points of damage.
Okay, that's not too bad.
As he just right hooks you, pretty much. And it is like being hit by a train wielding a hammer. It's just, you're pretty sure you're, going to be eating squint for the rest of your life as it just catches you in the jaw. The dwarf regains his footing and just dives at Beowyn. Beowyn steps to one side, kind of deftly, and the dwarf sort of just gets a face full of ground And okay, so Baywin just crit. So let me see here. Okay, so this is going to be pretty badass. The dwarf dives and Baywin steps to one side, kind of spinning as he does. The dwarf lands on his face in front of him, and Baywin just puts his pistol to the back of the dwarf's neck and just shoots right through his head.
Nice.
Just killing him instantly. And it's your turn.
Okay, so the orc Kref, which of course is Kref now, not orc, but for identity's sake,
yeah,
he's clocked me in the jaw. So
yeah.
I'm guessing I'm down and he's up, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Did I lose the grip on my rifle or not?
No, I wouldn't say that would happen.
Well, if I'm down, I still have my rifle. He's above me. I'm going to pull my rifle up and brace the back of it on the ground instead of trying to pull it up to my shoulder. Because it's got to be short range if he hit me, melee. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do that and aim the rifle right at his chest. If there's a penalty or a bonus for doing it that way, that's cool. I'll take it. But I figure that's better than trying to bring it up and, it'll be cool if it happens.
Well, because you're lying on your back, I think it would be disadvantage. But because you're putting it right in his chest, I'd give you advantage. So we'll just say it's a straight roll because they sort of cancel each other, right?
Okay.
I think that's the best way to kill her.
21.
Nice. Yeah, hits.
And that would be 8.
Yep. Yeah, he reels back, doing his patented disgusting breath screech, but still retains some life. And he leaps on you immediately, and just takes one of his claws and with a sadistic grin just presses it into your neck and just slowly begins to push it down. But you kind of get your hands underneath and kind of force it off, and it's sort of this slow kind of the bad guy and the good guy both holding the gun and trying to point at each other type thing,
right?
Where you're just centimeters away from your throat being pierced by one of these couple inch long claws. Baywin just runs and just like shoulder checks this guy to get him off of you. Make an opposed check. Oh yeah, the orc sees it coming and basically braces himself and shoulder checks him back, and Baywin just kind of bounces off of him, and one of his guns kind of goes skittering off to the side, and you can just hear Baywin like because he's super winded from that impact. I mean, this thing is like 9 feet tall,
right,
with just rippling muscles.
Right.
It's your turn.
Okay. Well, did Baywin shoulder checking him and him checking him back, did that throw him off? I guess I'm still struggling with the claw coming at my neck.
You are, but it's now, rather than centimeters, it's like a good couple inches away because he had to sort of reposition. You took advantage of that.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to take the opportunity then to, in that case, to roll out from under him. So at least he's trying to claw me from the side instead of straight down on me. That's what I'm going to do. Because I obviously can't wield my rifle. I could try to do it one-handed, but one-handed on the ground while he's trying to claw my neck out, and I've got one. That doesn't seem to make sense. So I'm going to do it that way.
Okay. So you weren't technically grappled. So yeah, I'll say that that's mundane, and you can use your movement for that. So if you'd like to take an action,
I would. But so realistically, saying this, fighting the evil space troll, I know, or smaller space troll anyway. Realistically, would I have time to bring the rifle up for a shot or not?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, then that's what we'll do then.
Yeah, aiming is
Okay.
part of the action, definitely.
Gotcha. Okay. 14.
14 just hits.
I'll take it. I'll take a 6 too for damage.
Describe what it looks like as you kill this Kreth.
Okay. Well, I roll out from. Luckily, he was off balance enough that I could roll out, and as I did, I rolled up and pulled the rifle up, and just again, right in the same place. I've been trying to plug right the same center mass over and over again, and I plug him right in the middle of his chest. And I don't have cool green space weapons. I've got regular old school space weapons, so they don't blow the holes that Balin's nice pistols over there do, which I'd still like to have. But I plastered him in the chest one more time. I don't blow a hole through him, but it's just an eruption of gore out from behind.
Yeah.
It's just a pulpy mass, and
definitely.
He teeters for a second and falls over backwards. And I look at Balin and say, "That's how you do it. The next time you kill him, don't let him fall on you."
And Balin gets up and chuckles, but he's got like no air in his body. He's like, and he reclaims his pistols and goes and cuts Fairly down. And then, the two kind of embrace slightly and exchange a couple words. They obviously know each other quite well. And Balin turns to you and says, so you did something with the ship then?
You mean
back on?
You mean his ship? Well, yeah. I thought that was what I was supposed to do. She told me to turn on his beacon, right?
Yeah. Well, you must be pretty good with all that engineering stuff, because we weren't expecting it to be that effective. And once we realized exactly where he was, and we received some of the analytics, we we figured out who'd done it. These two bastards. They're pretty much famous in the whole triumvirate. They're this one, and he kicks the dwarf one. He's only a stage 2, but this big guy, he's the first stage 5 we've ever heard of.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you his body count because, frankly, I don't have time. But we need to get the little guy back. So I'll take him back. Now your ship is programmed to fly you back to base before we head off, or before you get your freedom from all this. But I just want to say thanks for everything.
No problem. Well, let's head back. Are you parked near me, or are you in a different lot?
And he just chuckles and shakes his head and says, "Yeah, we'll walk together for a bit." And as you walk, Fairly says, after hearing about the whole circumstances of his rescue, says, "Well, if once he's recovered a bit as well, he says, if you're looking for work with your new ship, I know a guy looking to ship something from Loira to Grevda if you're interested." Which
I could use a job or two.
And I think that's where we'll leave it, because that mission is the one that, in my head anyway, is your all first one together on the Redmoth. So thank you for playing, Joe. That was a blast, even with one player. It was pretty.
Yeah, that was great, man. That was storytelling.
Everything.
Yeah, and, that was fun.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for watching.